Have you ever instructed a large group of learners and wondered if you'd lost the quiet ones? Have you ever taught a small class and no one wants to speak up? Do you ever look out at a sea of smartphones and wonder if anyone is listening? View this introduction to Mentimeter and discover a tool to keep your students involved in the topic you're introducing. In this video, I show other instructors how I use this platform in the classroom to turn the distracting smartphones to my advantage. Instead of scrolling through their social feeds while half listening to my presentation, learners use their own technology to respond and participate in the lesson.
So by way of introduction, I want to just say that I'm coming to you from the overlapping ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Katsi, Samiamu, Sawasan, Kakite, Coquitlam, and Kwantlen First Nations. It's a lot of shared land around here. I'm Sharissa Steele. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a horticulture instructor, and my background is in particular landscape design and landscape management, which is different from a lot of, we sort of have three designations. We have sort of a more turf grass management side and a production food agriculture side, and then horticulture is our landscaping side. So if you could introduce yourself with your name and just let me know your chosen field of study or your favorite.
All right, I'm Gord Broom, he, him, and I teach computer science at Victoria Camosun College in Victoria.
All right, welcome. So I'm gonna start sharing my screen here. And move that over. So today I'm actually using Mentimeter as my presentation, and I'm talking about it as well. So there's a little bit of overlap. Can you see my screen there with the Mentimeter title page there? All right, perfect. So I'm going to review the use of Mentimeter in a higher education setting. So given your field of computer science, I'm sure technology is something that is familiar to your students, but in horticulture, we tend to be doing hands-on things outdoors with tools. And so the computer side, while they're comfortable with it as users from their phones and perspective, other technologies are a little more less comfortable for them. So to get started, I'm going to try and forward this. Okay, so if you have a smartphone or a tablet and you want to participate, you can scan the QR code there and just click on the link, or you can go to menti.com and enter this code. So some people will have their laptops in the class, some people have smartphones, tablets, doesn't matter. There's no downloads to participate. And if you can give me a little thumbs up, there's like the button there, just to let me know you've logged on. I can see you logged on there, thank you. And I'm gonna go to the next screen. So this is often my opening slide when I use Mentimeter. It's just to gauge where my students are at. So sometimes the learners are feeling very stressed. If they are, I'm just welcoming Erica here to the show here. I'm actually gonna back up a slide here. Erica, are you here? Let's see, did I get Erica in?
Hi, sorry.
Hi, Erica, welcome.
I'm so sorry. I got stuck at work and I couldn't leave on time.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I'm glad you're here now. You haven't missed too much. I've just introduced myself and Gord has introduced himself as well. And can you see my screen there with the Mentimeter code there?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so if you'd like to join the presentation, if you have a smartphone or a tablet, you can scan the QR code, or you can go to the website there and dial in this number. I'll just give you a moment there.
Perfect, I'm in.
Perfect.
Looks like.
Okay, so I just asked for the first slide to let me know how you're feeling. I do this with my students and I know if they're stressed or excited or tired. I tend to get a lot of classes at 8 a.m. on Monday morning, so I kind of gauge how energetic they are by the responses that I get. Lets me know how to set the pace for it as well. So I'm going to move on here. And I want you to let me know what your experience is with Mentimeter. So if I'm discussing a new topic and a lot of students have heard about it before, I can go a bit faster. If they've never heard about it, they go a little bit slower. So if you can slide those bars based on the phrases there. So participated in Menti presentations, delivered none. So this is all new. I'll go through it. It's just a brief overview, but there's time for questions at the end. And also, if you see this little dialog box down at the bottom, if you click on that, you can upload a question. And then at the presentation at the end, there will be a chance for me to answer those questions if I haven't answered them in the presentation already. All right. So today I just want to do a brief overview of Mentimeter since it's a newer format for you. A few of the challenges that I found using it in the classroom in my setting, the 4 E's to evaluate its use in an educational setting, and then the results. So I'm going to let you see the results of the presentation today so you can see what kind of information you might get about your own learners in the classroom. So as an overview, Mentimeter is the platform that I'm using to present today, similar to PowerPoint, but it's an audience response system. So we engage the audience in the lesson through participation. There's lots of ways, and I've showed you can do a thumbs up or thumbs down here based on, sometimes I'll just say, is everyone getting it? And if I get a lot of thumbs up, I know everyone's good, or I can say, is it time to move on? And if I get a lot of thumbs up, it's time to move on. If I get a lot of thumbs down, I can sort of summarize the topic a bit to try and catch up those who are having difficulty. There's lots of research. I've read several meta-analyses, so they brought together a bunch of the research from the last 10, 12 years or so in Mentimeter because people are very excited about using technology in the classrooms. So they wanted to see if it was effective or not. So I'm going to talk about that here and there. So when we're presenting, you create the presentations in Mentimeter just on your computer, but you can put them in Zoom, Teams, or PowerPoint. You can integrate them directly. I chose not to today. I tried it before in Zoom and I didn't like the way it showed up for the users, for you folks. So I chose to just share my screen, but you can download the app and have it right in Zoom. You can upload your own content, so your own videos, your own images. Pardon me. Yeah, your own photos, your own videos. You can bring in your slides from Google Slides or from PowerPoint, but that's in the paid version. So I'm using the free version. I'm showing you everything you can do with the free version, but there is a lot more unlocked if you do the paid version. The other thing is, my third point here is there's a library of images and GIFs or GIFs, depending on who you are, from Unsplash. So those are images that do not need attribution. So I don't have to put a little copyright on the bottom. It saves me a lot of time from having to find it. I'm still going to use my own images if I can't find something suitable, or if I'm using graphs or some really related content. But if I'm just wanting a general image to make it more visually interesting, it is a pretty good library that they have. All right, and then the interactivity, this is why I'm using it. So there's 6 different question types that you can put in. The templates are all there. It tells you where to put the question, where to put the answers, and you can choose how it's shown. So when we do some questions, I'll run through them with you here. You can see how they'll show up on the screen. Bar charts and graphs and pie charts, and you did the rating scale already. So you've experienced a few of them. Because there's different question types, it keeps it from being too boring. If it was only one format, like multiple choice, I feel like the students would lose track. They'd not be as interested in it. You can have anonymous participation. So as you were doing today, you are anonymous. So when your responses come up, I'm not going to know who it is. And I find that helps for some people who are more reluctant or in larger groups. You can also have, and I'm going to show you the next part, we're going to do a quiz where you can have an identity, but it's you choose the name and it will give you a little icon. The reactions and responses and question buttons at the bottom here, I already told you about, but that's just a way for them to engage without having to put up their hand without me having to read body language, although I do prefer to read body language, but they can send me a signal this way without having to do it. And there are, I find, some cultures or some learning styles that just don't like to be that visual. So this gives them another way to do it. And then we can view the response data. So I can see in real time if people are interested, if they're not interested, if they're interacting, if they're not, and I can look at it later too and look back at my presentation and adjust it if I feel like there's a better, more effective way to do it. So the challenges, what I found the biggest one was reliance on internet. So in this version, I mean, obviously, if we didn't have internet, we wouldn't be meeting today on Zoom. So in that case, whatever. But in my classroom, I have concerns that if all my presentations are on the internet and it goes down, what are my options? You can download the slides into PDF, but of course, all the interaction is gone. There's limits in the free version, particularly you're limited to 50 participants per month. So if you have a lot of students, that may not work for you. I think I wrote down the cost here for it. $12 a month per presenter. So if you're talking to your institution or you're interested in getting a subscription, that $12 a month unlocks all the other features. Unlimited participants, you can bring in your own logo. So if you're in an institution, instead of this little Menti logo here, you'll see your institutional logo, which is handy if you're doing a lot of online courses. You can change fonts and there's other features like that. The privacy concerns. So the reason that I am limited in my use of Menti in my institution is it doesn't meet the privacy concerns because it stores the data offsite unencrypted. So I can't use Mentimeter and ask my students anything identifiable because it'll store that identifiable data outright. So I'm not sure what your restrictions are like, but I find if I just leave the surveys anonymous, then there is no identifiable data. I'm not asking them for any specifics about themselves. It's directly related to the course content that I'm talking about. Is the pace okay for everyone so far? Give me a thumbs up if you're feeling good about it. Perfect. And you can watch in Zoom or on your phone or tablet. I'm not sure which one you're doing, but please let me know at the end of this. I would like to know. I find it difficult to adjust the images and font, so some of them might be a little bit smaller than I would like for readability on the screen. And then in terms of equity accessibility, I mean, this requires somebody to have a smartphone or a tablet or a laptop. The way that my institution deals with it is we have a library that has rentals. So the students can come in and rent different pieces of technology for the classroom. And that way, somebody that couldn't afford to have it or doesn't have it on their own or forgot it would have that option in the classroom. They wouldn't be left out because they don't have it. Okay, so back to starting with the 4 E's, I was instructed to give a grade. I gave it a grade A for excitement because it's a bit of a novelty thing. I hope that it doesn't wear off for my students. And I think that's going to be by nature of how I use it. So if I'm just doing the same thing over and over again, the novelty is going to wear off. But if I change up my questions, I change the way it's used, I think it can keep them engaged and keep them excited about it. So the excitement A grade I gave for the reactions and responses, for the gamification, because it's been shown there's research, Parada and Al, you can see the little, I put the research on top there when I found it in relation to these slides, but they found that gamification does help with learning because it engages the participant. They're engaging with the learning in more than one context, hearing it, seeing it on the screen, and then thinking about it to produce it in the game. I also like that it's very low stakes. So unlike a test or a quiz where somebody is going to get graded, they might feel under pressure about it, or they might feel pressure from their peers. It's low stakes because nobody knows who's doing the answers. So they still get feedback on whether they're doing well, whether they've got the concept or not, but there's no pressure to it. So it's game time for you folks. If you can look at your phone or tablet, whatever you're responding with today, you're going to get assigned a random icon and it will suggest a name based on that icon. You can choose your code name using that one or the one they provided. And then when you're ready, I'm going to give you a question. So it looks like 2 players are ready. I'm going to go to the next slide. Nope. I'm going to enter to start the quiz. So press that button there. Okay, so the faster you answer, the more points you get, as long as the answer is right, of course. Look at your device. The question's coming in 1 second. All right, so you can see on my shared screen, everyone's voted. This is what my students see in the presentation too. They see how everyone answered. So true or false? Yes, it's true. You can see Menti response to, ooh, that, pardon my grammar on that page. Yeah. Yeah, definitely a thumbs down for that. You can see Menti response data in an Excel file. I'm going to make a note of that for later. Okay, so the second part of the E, educate, I gave it a grade B. It promotes discussion. So instead of a lecture where the instructor is standing up in front and flipping through PowerPoints and talking endlessly, this makes a discussion possible and it encourages it to happen. By getting their feedback, you can start a discussion. And then by getting their responses to things, I can look at them and talk about their responses, whether they're right or wrong, or whether they're close. What, like, we can get into a discussion about that. And if they disagree, why do they disagree? So increased participation and inclusion. Moen and Al did a bunch of research. They brought together a bunch of different research articles and surveys. And there's another one here that's a little bit older. They found it really triggers, it's best for the cognitive and affective learning domains. I mean, it engages the psychomotor because you have to use your fingers and stuff to engage with the buttons, but really the learning comes from the questions and how you're engaging with the information. So this is one example I use with my students. So I ask them to to click on the picture where the biggest safety hazard is for people. So different people will click on different things and then we can talk about it. So this is how I spark the discussion. There's lots of safety concerns here. I'm going to hit enter to show the correct answer, which this line trimmer is dangerous because there's no safety guard on it. So this line is freely rotating and there's no guard stopping anything from flying out of it. Also, it's a child using it, not super safe. He's got no hearing protection. He's wearing shorts. So we talk about this and we'll talk about each of the parts. Also, anyway, there's so many things wrong with this picture, but that's what gets the discussion going. And if somebody sees something I don't, that's fantastic. That sparks more discussion. This is an example of a slide that's already been completed with my team or with my learners. So I asked them to rate these pieces of edging material for gardens based on the sustainability parameters that we've talked about. So now they're applying their learning. This is more of the comprehension application in the cognitive domain. So it's making them use that information. This is another one that's question 2. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter to start the quiz. You're going to see the second question. Okay, so how many types of questions? Ooh, another grammar thing. Pardon me, folks. And when I'm presenting to educators as well. Right, there's 6. So this is how you see the answers come up. Everyone's got it, so there's no need to talk about it, aside from my poor grammar. Okay, so the next part I wanted to talk about was, I have 10 minutes left. Okay, so engagement, I'm going to speed it up a little bit here. Embolden reluctant participants. This is the biggest thing I find. Cultural differences and introverted people, all that sorts of thing. They can participate without having to put themselves out there. That gives me more honest feedback, and it's multi-directional. I can see what they're doing and I can give them feedback from what I'm seeing. The surveys that were done found that the students, the lessons using Menti met or exceeded their expectations by 80%. So I think that's a pretty good response. Okay, so this is another finished slide. This is one where I start to use the affective domain. We talk about which conflict styles after they've learned which ones are identified, which ones they relate to the most, and whether they would use a different conflict style in a different situation in the future. So it really gets them thinking. It's really the springboard for the conversation. Another one here. So after we've reviewed the whole class's infographics that they've created, I asked them what makes it most effective. So in this way, they get feedback on their own posters, but without being singled out, because again, it's anonymous. We're not talking about any particular poster. We're talking about the best things people saw in it. So this is just the word cloud option. This is all their words that they've provided that have come up into this slide. Evaluation, I gave it an A+ for formative assessments and a C+ for summative. So it can store and analyze results and provide immediate feedback. I can see if they're getting the right answers, if they're not getting the right answers. I can do a quantitative assessment, what we're doing with our graded 3 questions here. I don't find it's really good for a summative assessment, mainly because I'm not identifying my students in it to get around those privacy restrictions. So, and it's not meant for that. So I don't feel like that having a lower grade is a problem. There's better formats for it. Okay, question 3. This is the last one. You're both ready? Let's see how the grammar is. Which function is not possible in Mentimeter? So there's going to be 4 options on your device: grading written responses, embedding a video, inserting your own logo, or presenting activities offline. So 3 of these are possible with the paid version. 1 of them is not. All right, so we were split 50-50. I meant to mention that we can grade written responses similar if you have ever used a Moodle platform. That's very similar. But you can't present the activities offline. You can present the PDF, like the slides themselves, but you can't actually do anything with it. Okay, so there is no questions from the audience that were previewed, but if you have any questions now, you can unmute yourself and ask me directly, or you can type it into your smartphone there or tablet. Can the app do sound? Yes, so you can embed a video and have sound in it. I haven't played around with that just because I generally don't have speakers in the classroom, but I can see in this type of format that it would be beneficial to have the sound. I haven't seen any way to put sounds in it in terms of slides. Yeah, Gord, you can unmute yourself if you want to clarify.
Yeah, I was more thinking about because I can see the slides on the Menti app.
Yeah.
I could also hear you presenting it, so I wouldn't actually have to be in the same room. Like, could
right.
this be then used?
Yes.
For distance as well.
I hadn't thought about that. Yes, I suppose if you had to leave the classroom, you could then do it because you would have the app running on your phone or tablet. That's something new I learned. Thank you. Any other questions? Should we get to the leaderboard for the game? Okay, so if you have a whole classroom here, you see points here. People can see it and know who they are based on their own icon or their own code name that they've chosen. So I've added some more information. Where did it go? So there's the Mentimeter sign up. That's the home page where you can sign up for the free version. Mentimeter Academy has some courses and sort of asynchronous online stuff you can do just to learn a little bit more about it in your own time. Any research that I cited in this presentation, as well as anything else I found out about the Mentimeter research, can be accessed by this link. And then, unless otherwise cited, most of the images I used were from Unsplash. I wanted you to see an example of what kind of images it has in there. So I want to thank you for attending this presentation and for interacting with it. If you would like, and you can answer these 3 questions, it'll help me gauge it for next time, if there is a next time, if I'm presenting the same thing again, or change up my dynamic. And then once we're done here, I'm going to actually get out of the presentation mode and I'm going to show you the research results so you can see what you would see after you've done a presentation for your classroom. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation. When I've finished, it should automatically go back to the home page here. Okay, can you see my window here with my create and results? Yeah, okay. So if I go into results, there we go. Go into my results, I can see how many people responded, how they did on the quiz, if there was questions asked, and then I can review the data class or question by question. So I can see each of the parts where they interacted. So I can download that data into a PDF. So you can see the slides that I had downloaded with the results already in there. If you have the paid version, you can download it into an Excel spreadsheet and look at it over time. Okay, so I'm going to stop my screen share. Does anybody have any other questions about Mentimeter or comments about it?
I don't really have any questions. I feel like it's so fun to do the competition in a big classroom. I think it's just, and like you said, it's good for the introverts. I don't have any questions myself. I'm like, this is nice. I can learn.
Well, thank you, Erica. Thanks for coming. Oh, there we go. I'm going to run out of time here, so I wanted to make sure I got through everything. All right, well, if there's no more questions, thank you very much for attending and have a wonderful day. And maybe I'll see you in your own presentations later on.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Bye.
Bye.